Yep. Good evening, everyone. So, yesterday we learned how to create tables in MySQL, and we discussed about data types. So, yesterday we learned about configuring tables, creating table, and yesterday's topic. So, we learned creating table, and we discussed about MySQL types, data types, data types. So in that different data types, we learned number types, string types, date types, binary types, blocks, blob, and hmm, JSON type also new. So another important, we discussed about constants, constants. So we have which constant? Column constants. They are foreign key and column constants. Two are there. So column constants and foreign key constants. Column constants, column constants. We have another one. In the column constants, we learnt about. So one is primary key constant. Another one is unique constant. Nah, we learnt only these two. Huh? Not null. What we learned yesterday, I'm just asking them, right? So we discussed these three, right? Primary key, unique, and not null. Let's see other constants, how to use other constants and work with the constant, right? So yesterday we learned all this and some basic points we already know. Primary key constant means primary key constant is nothing but it is used for unique identification of every record inside a table. For relationship, this not only relationship indexing also it is important. And primary key are by default not null and by default they are unique. That is compulsory. What is unique? It will indicate that the value of the field cannot repeat. There cannot be duplicate values. Not null, it indicates that it cannot be empty. There must be some value inside. Yesterday we saw these examples. Now let's see another constant. Yeah. So next important in the constants we have, I will delete this table in schema sample db set default. Okay. In table, we have products. I will drop table. Okay. Now I want to create a table. In this table, name cannot be empty. It must have a value. You cannot leave it empty. As of now, we can leave it empty. So we don't want empty. Then what we have to do? Not null. We need to configure not null. Multiple fields price also not null. That means it cannot be empty. If I don't give not null, by default it is null. By default it is null. So when I run this, you can see that table is created and we refresh. You can see the table is there and we will select the table, select rows. I think already there is a command. Don't worry, just observe. And here product ID, I am giving one, that is the ID one. Product name, I am not entering. Product price, I am entering. And after that, I click apply and run this command. Then it will show an error. And what is the error? Error is nothing but name doesn't have a value. You have to make sure that there is some value inside name. So it is used for not null required fields. For that we can define. Suppose I entered TV, so the value is TV and price is empty. That means price is not defined with any value. And apply and run. It is working. What is it? Incorrect decimal value because I just used a blank there. Actually, I used a blank. I will remove this again. Okay. I'm using product ID is one and I'm using name and I'm not using anything. It is null and apply and it is applied. And the price is actually null. That means it is allowing to store null. Why? Because we haven't mentioned as not null now. So by default, every field is nullable. I given a note about it. No, we written about two. One is unique, another one not primary key, right? We will make a note about not null. So what is this not null is every field in table is by default nullable. So you can save record without a value inside field. So not null is used for required fields. It is used for required fields. Is used for required fields. So we have to use for required fields. If any field is set with not null, then it must have a value. Then it must have a value. That is simple. So product ID, tiny int. So name, not null. Like this, we can define. So if any value is not provided, we can put some default value. If they are not providing any value and they are saving, then we can put some default value. So for that, we have another one, that is default constant. This is not null constant. We have default constant. So what is default constant is nothing but if a field is not defined with value, then it can use any default value. You can configure a default constant. You can configure a default constant. And here, default can be any MySQL type. It can be any MySQL type. Default can be any MySQL type. That means it can be any number type, string type, or memory type, binary type, anything. So how do we set default constant? Let's see. For example, don't worry about these commands, select command and all. Currently, you need to just concentrate on create table. Other commands, later you will see that, right? So let's delete this table again. I will drop the table. Now let's go here. Here, product ID, primary key, name, not null, price, decimal, and we have a quantity. Quantity is a number, means integer. I will define as an integer. And if they don't mention quantity, by default, it should take 1. That means what we will use? Default as what? 1. We have to mention default 1. That's it. That means this is a value and it can be any type. You can put a string or a date or a number, anything can be default. That means default quantity of products will be 1. Remember, it will take default and it can be overwritten with any value. Default value can be overwritten with any value. That means later when they insert a new record, if they mention quantity 4, will it take 4? Yes, it will take 4. Default value is the value which is used when there is no value. If you mention the value, it will take that value. If you don't mention the value, it will use the default value. So I will run this and see here. Table is created. Let's refresh. You see the table is there, products. Now what we will do, we will select all the records. Okay, it is empty. Product ID is 1. Product name is TV. Price is some price. And quantity, I am not mentioning. I am not mentioning the quantity. And I click apply. And I execute apply. And you see it is executed. the quantity is default 1. You can see the default quantity is 1. It takes the default quantity 1 and it will show the quantity as 1. I will do one thing here. I will add one more number 2. So mobile, and I am adding some price. Okay. And the quantity I given 3 and I apply. You can see that, and I say apply, then it is going to add and it will be 3. So when it will take the default value, it will take the default value if there is no value. If we don't provide any value, it will take default value. So you can set another one that is default constant. So syntactically, how we define this? Similar, and here one more option is default value is overwritten with custom value when defined with custom value. Default value is overwritten with custom value. So if value is provided while inserting document, then the default is replaced with custom value. Default 1. So that is default constant. Next important, we have a check constant. We have a check constant. So what is check constant is generally every field in a table will allow any value of that particular type. You said integer, then it will allow any integer. You said string, then it will allow any string. We can restrict by using check. That means what check constant can do, it can verify whether the value is within the specified restrictions, and it will check the value is with the specified restrictions. If it is, then it will allow, otherwise it will not. So generally check constant is nothing but it is to verify whether the value is matching the asked requirement or not. If it is matching, then it will allow, otherwise not. And how it will check? By using various conditional operators. Conditional operator means equal, greater than, less than, not equal, logical, and or anything it can use. So what is the concept of check constant is a field usually allows a field, sorry, a field usually allows allows any value of specified type. So user can input any value. Check constraint. Check constraint is used to verify the input value. To verify the input value. It can check the value using various conditions. Using various conditions. And store only when matching with given condition. Matching with given condition. It can check the value using various conditions. So the operators required for building check expression. So we have equal. This is not equal. Greater than or equal to. Less than or equal to. And this is logical and or. This is logical or. Not. These are all expressions. Right. This is check constant. For example, we have a quantity. As of now, I can enter any quantity. Suppose I entered the quantity as 20 and apply. So that means, so yeah, finish. Let me finish. Yeah. We are applying the 20 quantity and apply, and it is updating. It is allowing to change. But I want the quantity to be between 1 to 5, the quantity between only less than 2, less than 3, greater than 3, anything you can use. Then how do we create here? Let's go drop the table, and here we need to go to the query, and here we will put a check constant. Check requires a condition to be defined. We need to define one condition. What is the check condition? check condition is nothing but what it is, quantity less than, it should be 3. We need quantity less than 3. You can use any condition, greater than, less than. We can also use logical end. We can also use or. We can use any condition. We can write a complex expression. If I want to write between 1 to 5, quantity greater than 1, less than 5, right? So the check constant requires a condition to define. Now, once you do this less than 3 and I run this, it executed and the table is generated. Okay, let's select the table products empty. I am entering the product ID as 1, name is TV, price is some price, quantity I given as 2, that's apply. Then you can see it is applied, it is adding. I am adding another product here. Product is 2, it is mobile, it is having some price, and its quantity is 4. Suppose I given 3, quantity is 3, and apply, and you apply, then it shows error because we say less than 3, not equal. Am I right? We haven't mentioned equal. So it will allow only less than 3. Suppose I will put here some value as 2 or 1 and apply, and it is going to use that. Oh, some problem. Previous value is not replaced. No? Okay, now I will apply and it is going to get that and apply. It will take that one. So what is check constant? Check constant is nothing but it will verify whether the value is within the specified range. Is it matching your condition or not? You can compare with a string, number, boolean, anything. You can use any expression. You can configure any expression. So how do we define the check constant? So we have to write like this syntactically. So we have a quantity integer, default is 1, and check less than or equal to 3. You can just mention like this. Right. So that is check constant. One more is there. What is it? We have auto increment also. Auto increment constant. Auto increment constant is nothing but it will automatically implement the values by increasing by 1, right? Auto increment is a constant. Generally, you can configure a field with numeric type, data. The value in field can can auto increment. The value in field can auto increment based on the previous. The value in field can auto increment based on the previous. Incremented value is assigned to next record. Incremented value is assigned to next record. So the default incrementation starts with 1. The default incrementation starts with 1. And it can increase the value by 1. Incrementation starts with 1 and it can increase the value by 1. So it uses enum behavior for values in a field. Actually, enum is enumeration. Enumeration is a collection of constants which automatically increment. If there is number constants, they automatically increment. You will learn these enums and all in TypeScript as language when you learn TypeScript, because we don't have them in JavaScript. So, but in TypeScript like languages, you will have the concept of enums. Anyhow, that is just a behavior of enum. It is just a behavior of enum. And auto increment, the constant, how it works here is, for example, let's drop this table again. Okay, now in the query, this product ID is a primary key and we have auto increment. We have auto increment. So when we have auto increment and run this, it is created. Now you select the table and product ID. I am suppose giving the ID as 2, name as TV and price something, quantity as 2 and apply, and you insert. You see it is inserted. That means by default it is starting with 2. And for the second one, I'm not giving a value. This is mobile and some value and 2. And I apply here. I'm not using the value and it is successfully added with 3 because you given as auto increment. Auto increment. Otherwise, what will happen? It will show error. What error? It says that it cannot be null. We are not mentioning a default value. We are having not null and it is a primary key and it is automatically incremented with one value. So that is generally done by using this technique. So syntactically, the same thing here. I'll just give as auto increment. Auto increment. Auto increment is by default non-nullable. That means it cannot be null. Based on the previous value, it can do. And it can be only number type. It can be number type. If my previous value is 1001, then the next value will be 1002. It depends on the previous value. If there is no previous value, it will start with 1. If there is a previous value, it will increment the previous value. That's basic note you should know. If there is no previous value, then it starts with 1. If there is a previous value, then it increments the previous with 1. Increments the previous value with 1. Increments the previous value with 1. Right. These are all the constants related to columns. So we have finally the primary key constants, unique key constant, not null constants, default constants, check constants, auto increment. These are all different constants we are having. Now, next important, we have foreign key constants. Foreign key constant. Actually, to deal with this foreign key constant, first you should know the relationships. We need to know relationship, how we configure, how we define. It's a big concept, but first I will explain a basic point about how do we create the constant. Then we will go into relationship. Detailed relationships, how they work, I will explain. We will learn about them. I told you entity diagram na. So we will learn about relationship, designing relationship between data with one real world project example. We will see that. Generally, foreign key is nothing but it is used to connect two tables. It is used to connect two tables. That means to configure relationship between two tables, two or more tables. It can configure relationship between them. Generally, relation will be like one to one, one to many, many to many. They are a separate topic. I will explain them. How we connect the relationship and how we write the constant, first we will see that. Then we will discuss about relationship. Right? Generally, how we write the constants is, for example, foreign key constant. This is one table we are having. This table already there, huh? Right? We have a table called products, and in that some information is present. Let's create another table. I will create another table. Create table and categories. Categories is a table. In this categories table, we will put category ID. So it is an integer. Let's say tiny integer. So, and it is what? Primary key. So it is primary key. That's a primary key. I will use auto increment also. So we can have auto increment also for that. Then category name. So which is an varchar. So and 20, some category name and category ID. Now, what is the point here? I will run this. We have a table. So the categories table and the products table. Now in the products table, every product belong to one category. Every product belongs to a category. Electronics, fashion, footwear. So why we need this relationship? Because we can filter products based on category. I selected electronics, then all electronic products should come. That means now which product belongs to electronic category? How we connect the relationship? That means here we need a field. What is the field? Category ID. And what is the field data type? Its data type is tiny integer. Its data type is tiny integer. That means we need a category ID which is tiny integer. Okay, fine. Is it absolute or relative field? Absolute field means it doesn't have any relation with others. If it is a relative field means this value will come from another table. This value will come from another table. It is connected with another table. If it is a relative field, how do we create the relationship? That means generally in a table, the fields are absolute or relative. Absolute means they are not connected with any. They are individual. Relative means they are connected with others. They depend on others. So how do we configure the relationship here is, for that we need to define constraints. We need to define constraint. So we need to write a constraint name, any name for the constraint, any name. Traditionally, people use FK. FK is for foreign key. You can give any name, doesn't matter. FK and the foreign key constraint name is suppose category. FK category. That is the constraint name. Why you need a name for constraint? Because when you create a foreign key constraint, you must able to later modify, delete that constraint. If you create a foreign key, you must able to modify the foreign key, delete the foreign key. Then you need a reference name for that. And what is the reference name? The constraint name. Constraint name. That means the constraint name is what? FK category. And what constraint it is? It is a foreign key constraint. It is a foreign key constraint. Which field you want as foreign key? You have to mention the field name. So which field we want as foreign key? Category ID we want as foreign key. Right? We want category ID as foreign key. And remember, foreign key refers to a field inside the current table. Inside current table, which field you want to use as foreign key? I want to use category ID as foreign key. And with which table and which field you need to connect it? We need to connect this with which table? Categories table. In categories table, which field? Category ID. That means foreign key refers to current field, current table related field. And it should refer to which one? That means it should use what? References. References table name. Which table it should refer? It should refer to which table? Categories table. In the categories table, what is the field name? In the categories table, what is the field name? Category ID. We need to configure the category ID in categories. That means we need to configure references, categories, category ID. That means the in the current table, category ID will be used as a foreign key to connect with the categories table. That means now every product will use a category name, category ID. The category ID comes from which table? Categories. It will come from the categories table. And which field? Category ID. It will use the category ID. That means we are configuring relationship between the products and table. That means every product belongs to a certain category. Every product belongs to a certain category. Can a product belong to multiple categories? Yes. A product can belong to multiple categories also. That means, suppose you are using mobile. So mobile comes under mobile category. It comes under electronics category. Am I right? That means it may have multiple categories also. Such all relations we will learn. We will see that point. One example I will give you. So first point, how to create a foreign key. To create a foreign key, first there must be a table. There must be a table which have the keys. We have to refer the table by using references. By using references, we have to refer the table. So here still it is not done. There are so many options for this. What are the options is you are connecting a table with another one. When you are connecting a table with another one, who is the parent here? Here the parent is categories. The parent is categories because categories field you are using as a foreign key in products na? That means the parent is categories that you are using here. Suppose a category is deleted in categories table. If a category is deleted in categories table, then what will happen? If category is deleted on categories table and that category related product is in our products table, then what will happen? That depends on how you design the foreign key relation. Foreign key relation can be designed in three ways. One, strict mode. We have three modes: strict mode, cascade mode, and not null mode. We have three modes: strict mode, cascade mode, and not null mode. I will show you them. By default, it is strict mode. Strict mode means, for example, you see here, means by default, it is strict mode. I will execute the query here. It is showing. So, acha, products already exist. Huh? I need to delete it. Huh? Drop the table. Okay. Now let's create this product table and run this. Okay. It is created with a foreign key we have created. That means now we are having two tables. Huh? One table is what? Categories. Another table is what? Products. And you can see the products table is having a primary key. So categories also is having, and you can see here later you can understand. You can see categories foreign key. So you can see that is the primary key. And you go to the products foreign key. And in the foreign key, you can see the foreign key constant is there. One foreign key constant is created here. This is okay. And you see by default, you can observe here by default on update restrict, on delete restrict, on update restrict, on delete restrict means what? Nothing but, for example, in categories table, I will select categories. Okay. Here I will add one and it is electronics. Two, this is fashion. Okay. I will add them. One is electronics and two is fashion. Let's go to the products. Select products. Okay. In that product ID is one. It is one. Name is TV. Price is something. Quantity is one or two. Category ID. This is one. One. One category ID. Why? Because one refers to electronics. One refers to electronics. This is two. We have shirt and we have some price. And this is quantity one. This belong to two. That belongs to fashion. This is three. This is mobile and some price. And this is two. And this belongs to one. That means 2 belongs to electronics and 1 belongs to, yeah. So now I will apply here. So all the 3 records are added. Now I will go to the categories table. I will go to the categories table and I will run this. Okay. I will right click on electronics, or I will right click on fashion, and I will try to delete the row. Means I am deleting fashion, but this fashion is being used in other table. Na? We have a connection with other table. I am trying to delete that fashion and apply. When I apply that, that means deleted that fashion and apply. It is showing error. You cannot delete the category from categories table. Why you cannot delete category from categories table? Because that category is being used in another. That means that category is being used in another table. If the category is being used in another table, you cannot delete. You cannot delete. Why? Because the default mode of relationship is which mode? Strict. In strict mode, if you create a relationship in strict mode, if any category is deleted, it will not allow to delete. It will not allow to delete. That means you see the category is not deleted. It will not allow to delete. Actually, it is not applied. It is not applied. You run this one more time, you will see the category is still available, right? So what is the first default mode? The default mode is strict. Strict mode means it will not allow to delete that particular category. Delete that particular category. For example, I will add category 3, and this is like footwear. That is footwear. Apply. I am adding a footwear category. Okay, it is added. And I will right click on this footwear and I will delete footwear. I am deleting footwear and apply delete footwear category and apply. It is deleted. Why? Because this category is not being used. If it is being used, then you cannot delete it because the default mode is strict. Default mode is strict. On delete, on update, it will be strict. That means you cannot modify the category name. Understood? You cannot modify the category. You cannot delete that category. Suppose I am trying to modify the category. Suppose electronics. I will put ELE. I am modifying and I will apply here, and you can apply here. It is applied. Why? Because the name is not the foreign key. Which one is the foreign key? ID. That means I cannot change the ID, but I can change the name. Name and other details we can change. The foreign key relation is not with name. The relation is with the ID. Can I modify the ID from 1 to 3? That means I am trying to modify the ID from 1 to 3 and apply. Now it fails. You can modify other details, but you cannot modify the ID. Why? Because default update is also strict. Default update is strict. Default delete is also strict. Right? First, we will make a note up to this here. What is the foreign key constant? So foreign key constant, it is used to configure relationship between tables. It is used to configure relationship between tables. A field can be absolute or relative. Absolute absolute fields are not connected with others. They are individual. Relative fields are connected. Relative fields are connected with others. A relation can be one to one, one to many, many to many, etc. Those I will tell you later. Detail, we will see that relationship. So foreign key, foreign key constraint is used to connect a table. Foreign key constant is used to connect field, a table field with another table. Syntactically, table name. This is field name, data type, constraints. So this we have constraint name, constraint name, foreign key, just roughly, field name, references, table name, and field name. On update, strict, cascade, or roughly syntax I will give mode. On delete and mode. What is that mode I will give you? Generally, that is the syntax. Here, constraint name is required to modify or delete constraints. Foreign key refers to field name of current table which you want to use as foreign key. Field name of current table which you want to use as foreign key. References 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 used to configure the table that contains Foreign key field. References are used to configure the table that contains foreign key field. So mode can be any one of the following: strict, cascade, set null. The default mode is strict. If update and delete are in strict mode, then it will not allow to modify or delete the foreign key field. It will not allow to modify or delete the foreign key field value. Foreign key field value. The default is strict mode. Syntax. First, you need to create two tables. Create table categories. Just roughly, I given this. Category name. This is categories table. Now, so category ID, tiny int, constants. References. Categories, category ID. On delete on update strict. That's what default is. So what happens if I put cascade on delete cascade on update cascade? It is nothing but cascade is nothing but when I delete that particular category from categories table, all related products are deleted. Understood? Cascade, if I put delete cascade, means what? If the category is deleted from categories table, all the products belong to that category are deleted. Understood? That means if I delete electronics from the table, now there will be no electronic products in products table. They are all automatically deleted. That is the point about cascade. If I modify the category ID, cascade means it will modify the category ID in products table everywhere. Suppose current electronics ID is 1, you change it to 3. It will allow to change and it will update everywhere 1 to 3. That is done when you define as what? Cascade. Cascade. So remember, you can say on delete as strict, on update cascade. You can write both different. What does it means? On delete strict means it will not allow to delete, but it will allow to update. Update. You can put both combinations. And what is meant by not set null? Set null is nothing but if I delete that category from categories table, what will happen? In the products table, all the products will be there, but their category will be null. Their category will be null because you deleted it. It will be null. You can use set null or you can use cascade. Cascade. Just you need to change this. That means you need to set the mode. You need to configure this mode and you need to try this. Where here, this is categories, this is products, this is where we are creating. That means here, what we can do, we can write as what? On update. On update as what? Cascade. Cascade. Default it is strict. We can put cascade. Right? On delete. So on delete, what you can do? Strict. We can put on delete as strict. Cascade and strict. On delete is strict. Uh, just delete and strict. Some references continuous only. On update and on what? Delete. Delete what? Strict. Uh, strict is there. Default strict is there. Default is strict. Huh? Set null. It is taking. Uh, default is strict only. You cascade. Default is strict. Huh? And here on delete, what I will do? Set null. Okay. but I need to delete this table every time because already it is created now. We have to drop table. Okay. And we need to create this table one more time. It is created and refresh. It is there. Products. I will run. Here we are having categories. Have suppose this is one and this is electronics. Okay, apply. It is applied. One electronics and two fashion. Here I will go to the products and one. This is number one TV price quantity and this belongs to one electronics na. Okay, let's add one record. And now I will change here in the categories. I will change the electronics ID to 3. Will it allow? Apply and apply. It is allowing. Why? Because update is cascade. Now I will delete here. I will delete rows and apply. Oh, sorry. Which one I have to delete? Electronics, na? Let's reverse this. Okay. This electronics I am deleting. Right click and delete rows. Okay. And apply. I am deleting electronics. Will it delete? So it is deleted. Then what will happen to the products? You refresh the products. That category ID is set to null. Am I right? Previously it was 3. It is updated, but now it is null. So that depends on how you define the mode. So what is meant by strict? Strict is nothing but it will not allow to update or delete. What about cascade? It will automatically update or delete. That means those relative records are deleted. If that is deleted, relative records are deleted. Null means if it is deleted, then it will set it to null. These are all the options of mode. One more example I will show you how to do that, right? First you try this, then tomorrow we'll continue. In tomorrow's session, we will discuss some more points about foreign key relation, how you configure them. Okay, right.